There you go.
Ready to make a start? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Well,
you're good to go, Fiona.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. Thank you very much for attending this morning's session. I'm delighted to introduce Loretta Hoy to you. Loretta is the Green Sector Development Lead in Essex. She has a background in all things green, having trained as a marine biologist, and she has a master's in ecology. She's also put her theory into practice, having worked as a park ranger for some time. She now works with colleagues at Essex County Council, looking at the business and employment opportunities in the green sector as a result of us all changing the way we live and work to tackle climate change and recover from the pandemic. So I'm going to hand you over to Loretta now. As usual, the opportunity to ask any questions within the chat. Thank you all.
Thanks, Fiona, for the introduction. Thanks, guys, for joining us this morning, bright and early. I'll just share my screen. I've got a slide deck here. Hopefully, it won't be too long and arduous. But as Fiona says, we've been working for the last year now with colleagues, looking at the opportunities around growth potential in the green sector, and trying to do a bit of myth busting this morning to kind of give you guys a bit of a flavour of what's out there and what the opportunities are. So historically, when we think about green jobs or the green sector, some of the words on the right hand side of this slide will come to mind, sort of your wildlife jobs, your gardening, nature, conservation, those sorts of things. And it's not wrong. You can have a green job as a park ranger, as Fiona's introduced. I used to do that job, or be a gardener, but it's far more diverse than that nowadays. And looking at the definition at the bottom left, we mean green jobs are jobs that help us to live and work and survive, but without further detrimenting or negatively affecting the planet. So it's far more diverse as a sector than these words on the right hand side of the slide give credit for, and we'll be looking at that in a little bit more detail as we go through the presentation this morning. So we kind of know that a green job can pretty much be anything that doesn't detriment the planet right now, or in the future, probably all jobs will be seen as green jobs. And by the time that we've got around to all of our jobs being green jobs, we'll probably have just got our head around what the definition of a green job is. But in terms of the businesses that are out there, there's kind of 5 typologies. So you've got existing green businesses, so things like your horticultural jobs or energy efficiency firms. But as we move, as Fiona said, out of the pandemic and to a more cleaner and greener way of life, we're going to need new green businesses. So there's going to be growth there. We're going to need some of our existing businesses or our dirtier jobs to go green. So things such as automotive industry, they're going to be going greener as we move to greener technologies or EV vehicles. And we're also going to have new non-traditionally green businesses that need greener practices. So things such as processing, manufacturing, obviously seen as quite dirty jobs, again, which are going to need to have greener processes. And last but not least is going to be businesses that are going to support some of these practices. So things such as your consultants, your ecological consultants, they're going to be needed to provide information, advice and guidance to people, which is going to appeal to those who maybe have a skill set in customer service, for example, or things like retrofit, which we'll come on to in a little bit. Too far forward. So as I say, green jobs are quite diverse, and you could get a job which is actively tackling things such as climate change. So you could become a watercourse engineer and look at things such as building sustainable urban drainage systems, which are the pictures on the left hand side. So building areas within the built environment that are going to capture water, as obviously we know climate change is going to increase our flooding risk and those sorts of things. So we create rain gardens so that we can capture water as it permeates or runs off from our built environment areas. You could have a job like I used to have, where I was like a park ranger or working for the Wildlife Trust, more of your traditional green jobs, and also kind of working with things such as nature's engineers, obviously like beaver reintroductions, which are becoming more prevalent in the UK now, as they are used as our natural engineers to hold water back to do natural flood defences. I had to put a picture of a beaver in there just because they're cute and cuddly looking. you could have a job looking at manufacturing green widgets or smart technologies. So we know at the moment, obviously, if you haven't had your energy bills come through or been watching the news or anything else lately, energy prices are rising and they're rising fast. But actually having smart technologies or utilising smart technologies going forward is really going to help people to get a grip of their behaviours and thinking about how they can manage their own bills more effectively. So smart meters and smart technologies are going to ramp up quickly, and there's huge opportunity in Essex to be part of that manufacturing process for smart tech. As well as things like clean energy, and all of those listed there on the right hand side are obviously huge opportunities in Essex. Essex is the sunniest place, Shrewsbury-Ness I believe is the sunniest place in the UK, so why we aren't harnessing solar energy more to be cleaner and greener, I don't know, but I think we're going to see that extremely ramp up, and there's some slides going forward which will show you the number of jobs in that sector specifically. And as I say, there's jobs that you might not think of as being traditionally green, but things such as information advice and guidance, and retrofit, which we'll talk about in a little while, has triple benefits, and we call them the 3 Ps: people, planet and profit. So going out into someone's home and helping them to think about the options for them going forward to have a more sustainable home and to increase their energy efficiency of their property might appeal to someone who's got a skill set maybe in customer service or hospitality historically, and we know that we can improve the opportunity for the planet in terms of limiting pollution from retrofitting our homes. We can save people money by making their homes more energy efficient, but also we can help them to live more healthier, sustainable lives by them having less mouldy homes and obviously having more money in their pockets to be able to eat more healthily. So for the past year, colleagues and I have been working and doing some sort of crystal ball gazing, and also working with a number of different organisations to do some modelling around where the green jobs are in Essex for the future. And we know that there's 5 particular sectors that are going to show real growth and opportunity in terms of jobs and employment. And not only that, they also are giving us an opportunity to diversify sectors as well, which we'll come on to at the end of the presentation. But if you think about the jobs or sectors listed here, so construction and retrofit, energy, manufacturing, digital and life sciences, all of these are transitioning fast. We need a quick ramp up of people in those sectors, and some of them are transitioning to greener processes and practices really, really swiftly. So not only do we have opportunities for new innovative jobs, but we have opportunities for people to diversify and change their skill set to be able to stay in long and prosperous careers. We've only got 38 years, and that sounds a little way off to reach net zero, but actually that's a huge task for us to be able to not be polluting. And so that come 38 years time, I hope that we will no longer needing these presentations, because every job we've got will be a green job. So we'll start with construction. Construction obviously has typical stereotypes. So you will probably, when you think about construction, think about dirty jobs. You'll think about those on the tools. You'll think about my little mate Bob there. You'll think predominantly white van man. And that isn't a bad thing. That's pretty much how it has been. But we have seen a shift in not only the skills, but in kind of the opportunities and the diversity in construction. So construction and retrofit now and in the future. So as I say, we need to reach net zero in terms of our pollution and in terms of our carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So that means that we need to make changes to our homes that we have now already existing. And if you drive around or take public transport or walk around at the moment, you'll notice that we are also building a lot of new homes, which currently are not necessarily at net zero. So at the moment, I believe there was last year 633,000 homes in Essex. There's about 650,000 now. And each one of those is going to have to become more energy efficient and be retrospectively fitted with energy efficiency measures. So we know that we're going to need people to go in and do that work, but we're also going to need people to advise on that work. There's going to be a number of white collar jobs in the sector. And there's huge opportunity around, the digital and opportunities around automation, around Internet of Things in construction, and so it's going to be diversifying as we go forward as well. Currently there's only 2% of construction workers are women, for example, and if you look at those from ethnic minorities, obviously, and being female, it's even less than that. So it's about us changing the way we think about and target those working in construction and retrofit, and trying to move away from the Bob the Builder type stereotype that we've got now. So construction and retrofit. So construction, we're going to see a move towards modern methods of construction, and by that you'll see this picture on the left-hand side, which is a modular construction. You'll see that top building is being lifted and shifted onto an existing sort of prefab. I like to think of them like Lego blocks. And we're seeing more of that happening at the moment. So I know that there's been some modern methods of construction used in Southend recently for the net zero construction work that's been happening down there, which is fantastic. And what happens with modern methods of construction as well is that it's also green, because we can do a lot of that work and simulation on computers. We are able to minimise our waste as well, so we have leaner processes. You'll see from the graphic on the right-hand side that we need people obviously on the trades, and there's a huge number of jobs that we're going to be needing by 2050, but also some really nice salaries that are going to be available for people in construction. And as I say, it gives us an opportunity to diversify the sector as well. So retrofit is, as I say, is a subsector of construction, and it's really just about making our buildings more energy efficient for people, to provide them with comfier homes as well as more energy efficient ones, and also lowering their fuel bills as well, which obviously is win-win for everybody. And retrofit is a fairly new sector. If you think about green practices in construction, you probably do think about just making our homes more energy efficient or less polluting, and thinking about things like maybe moving away from a gas boiler to having a heat pump or solar panels on your roof, for example. So this graphic on the left-hand side, we've been running a project with the Retrofit Academy, providing skills, free skills training up until June. I think we've got an extension now until December to do that in Essex for people interested in retrofit. And you'll see that we need 14,047 retrofit, professional retrofit jobs as well as trade jobs by 2030. So if you think that's 8 years away, we've got over 14,000 jobs, new jobs that are going to be needed in Essex. And this is the opportunity, I think, which provides us with the greatest opportunity to think about the skill set, and where we might be able to think about lifting and shifting people from other industries where they might have found themselves out of work as a result of the pandemic, or looking to swap to a new career. So there's 6 professional retrofit jobs available, and they are, as you can see on the graphic on the right hand side, are things like retrofit advisors, so providing independent advice around what might be right for homeowners, retrofit coordinators, sort of project managing things, so that you might want to have your insulation put in your home before you have an air source heat pump to make it more cost effective for you. Retrofit assessors to go in and actually look at the energy efficiency of your home first. It's very rarely that people know how energy efficient their homes are. It's only when you kind of, I think, buy a property you get your EPC ratings. You obviously need a retrofit designer, so this is where your creators can come in, and it's quite useful for those who might maybe want to be an architect or quite tech savvy on computers. Then you've got your sort of retrofit installers, which are your kind of tradespeople, and then your more white collar jobs, your quantity surveyor type retrofit evaluators. And as I say, this is an opportunity for people who maybe have worked in hospitality or customer service, or have a skill set around networking and working with people to work in the construction trade. Moving on to clean energy. So when we talk about energy, people just think mainly fossil fuels, nuclear, and maybe some solar panels, but it's far more diverse than that. This table on the left-hand side shows the classification used by government around energy, and it's everything from like lighting and changing lighting from your normal light bulbs to LEDs, to waste and water supply, forestry and woodland management, and also things such as your electric vehicles and that kind of stuff is also included in clean energy. Obviously, we're moving away from petrol and diesel cars and moving towards where you plug them in, so it's going to be the same fuel supply, in your home or your flat or whatever, that's going to be charging your vehicle. It's a bit like plugging your phone in at night time or whatever. And we've got huge opportunities in terms of clean energy in Essex. As I say, we are the sunniest place in the UK. There is a real push around solar energy in Essex, and the Essex Climate Action Commission are saying that all new build homes are going to have solar canopies or solar roofs going forward. We will have opportunities, obviously, to have more solar farms, and also around the advice and guidance for people who are looking to retrofit their properties. We've also got huge opportunities as a result of the free ports. So we've got 2 free ports now in Essex, and there's real exciting opportunities in terms of hydrogen power. So hydrogen power obviously is a chemical process where we split the H2O compounds of water into H2, which is hydrogen and oxygen. So it's a completely clean process. And the opportunities in the free ports at Harwich and on Thames are going to provide the energy needed to supply the electrolysis process to split water is going to be provided by clean energy. So it's going to be what we call green hydrogen power. So it'll be powered by things such as offshore wind and solar. And you can see from this graphic on the right hand side that we're going to need 3,300 new jobs in solar, for example, in the next 8 years. So there's huge potential there. And again, some of the salaries that are associated with that are also shown on this slide. So advanced manufacturing and engineering, it's probably historically not thought of as a green sector. And we are moving to what I like to think of as kind of the next industrial revolution. So I think it forms what we call the 4th industrial revolution, where we're moving towards more smarter technologies and practices. And people are a bit adverse to that because they think about automation and taking over from people's jobs on the front line. But actually what it's providing is an opportunity to diversify their skill set. So the skill set around advanced manufacturing engineering is going to be on the more digital side of things, and providing some of that creativity. I think advanced manufacturing and engineering is where there's really that opportunity to harness a creativity for people. And I think what's really exciting is that the space sector is a subsector of that within Essex. So Essex has a huge potential and is quite strong in terms of the space sector in Essex. We have companies that are working in Essex right now who put on the cameras or the equipment for the Mars rover, which is really exciting. We also have Essex-based companies that are providing the technology that is monitoring climate change on the International Space Station, which is also exciting. And we're going to only see that grow as a sector in Essex. So if you've got anyone who's a budding astronaut or really is interested in space or physics, as well as climate change, then there's a huge opportunity there in Essex as well. Digital technologies. So basically anything that's got tech on the end that isn't med tech is included within this sector from an ECC perspective. And we know that we've had huge opportunities to diversify the way that we work as a result of the pandemic, but also as a result of climate change. So we're working more hybridly right now, and there's opportunities for us to think about utilising digital technologies. I mean, 3-4 years ago, I knew I had Microsoft Teams on my computer, for example, but I didn't know how to use it. Probably still don't know quite how to use it to its full capacity, but we are seeing and living with new technologies every day. There's a huge range of opportunities in this sector, and I know that there's been a few LMI sessions on things such as agri-tech in the past, but there's opportunities in terms of fintech, which is financial technologies, and we've got some innovative startups in insurtech within Essex who are new startups, so insurance tech, things such as cyber security, and obviously coding and programming. And I think digital technologies is a really, really important sector. It's also a great opportunity for us to help diversify as well, because we know that digital technologies and some of the big corporations in the world are utilising and harnessing people who are neurodiverse to be able to get into digital technologies. So Google, for example, are job carving for people who are neurodiverse, who are perfectly, aligned with their skill set and with the way that they work in terms of things like coding and programming, and there's an opportunity for us to work with businesses going forward to be able to harness that. And as we move going forward, all of our businesses are going to require that technical person. I'm not at all technical savvy, and you always need a friend involved in digital or tech or in IT, as I found out last week. And there's great opportunities. It's really diverse, and Essex has some real strengths here in terms of the universities as well. So University of Essex is one of the leading universities in terms of digital technologies, and Anglia Ruskin is in terms of AI as well. And obviously with having Writtle College as well, with its expertise in agricultural technologies on the doorstep as well, there's huge opportunities for higher education within Essex on your doorstep. So we can create a local supply chain for those who want to go into higher education. And you can see some of the salaries there as well associated with digital technologies. So I come on to one of my favourite sectors at the moment, which I think incorporates all of the technology and the move towards green from the previous sectors we've talked about. So I mentioned briefly when we're talking about energy, the automotive industry. So historically, if you thought about the automotive industry, you would have thought about your internal combustion engines, a dirty job under the hood of a car, the lovely Henry Ford car at the top left there, and probably a white man under a hood of a car with greasy hands, looking at what on earth you've done to your vehicle. But actually, it's changing at a real pace, and it incorporates all of those sectors that I've already spoken about in terms of advanced engineering, manufacturing, digital technologies, and energy. The only one it doesn't really touch on is construction, but it will be in terms of inputting our EV charging ports, for example. So actually, the automotive industry now is more digitally connected than ever, is going greener than it ever has, and it's going at a pace. So in terms of the opportunities in automotive, for example, we know that the skill set that actually some of our big automotive industries and local automotive industries are looking at is things such as coders or programmers or designers, because historically they would be looking at those who have mechanical skills. But actually we know that the inside of our cars now and the new EV vehicles is far more technical than it's ever been. What I do think is really exciting as well for the automotive industry is how we are able to minimise waste. So this image at the bottom left-hand side here is actually a computer simulation of a crash test. So historically, when they would be building the combustion engines, they'd build a car, they'd crash it, and then they'd see what went wrong with it and build another one. Now, digital technologies and advanced engineering manufacturing allows us to make changes and to simulate things on computers. And then we only actually have to build potentially 1 or 2 cars in the long run to test them before they are ready to go to market. So in terms of being a greener process, we have far less waste from crashing multiple vehicles and less energy required in order to do that. So the last sector we're going to look at is life science and medtech. And Essex is really strong in terms of this sector. So you might think, well, how is life sciences and medtech a green technology? But actually, it provides us with an opportunity for individuals to look at their care in their own homes, to live independently, not have to have people come and look after them. It gives them a chance to do health diagnostics and have, you know, local community care. So you'll see at the bottom here a couple of hopefully fairly familiar pieces of technology. And I myself am a sort of personal case study at the moment. The joys of Teams is that you can't see that I'm about 7 months pregnant, and unfortunately I've developed gestational diabetes, but I have been given one of these medtech self-diagnostic blood sugar kits. So historically, I would have had to go to the doctors on a daily basis to get my blood sugars checked. But now, by having one of these diagnostic machines in my own home, I don't have to take time off work. I'm more productive, and I don't have to get in my car and drive to my medical centre every day. So it's a much cleaner process in terms of polluting the planet, or trying not to pollute the planet, I should say. And this kind of technology that's shown here with the blood pressure monitor as well is fairly old technology. But we are becoming faster and moving in such an innovative way in terms of life sciences and medtech that there's new things coming out all the time. We're literally on the doorstep of places like Chesterford Research Park and bordering places like Cambridge. We have fantastic opportunity to diversify this sector, to be able to do things within Essex. And I think with regards to life sciences as well, we have seen a real shift since the pandemic in how we are innovating in this sector. I mean, who would have thought we would have COVID tests at home, for example, and that's only going to be evolving at an ever moving pace. As well as things such as home care for care tech as well, for those who are needing support but maybe don't need to have a carer come round. They can do things remotely. So we've kind of looked at the sectors, and sorry, it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but how many jobs are there potentially going to be? So the number of green jobs is rising fast, and there's been some data that's been done by the local government association about a year and a half ago now by an organisation called Acuity that looked at green jobs on a national scale, and it's definitely worth having a look at that if you haven't seen it before, because it does break it down by district as well. But there's going to be about 28,000 new green jobs. This isn't the ones that we're necessarily going to be diversifying. We're talking about brand new jobs. And as I say, 14,000 of those are going to be in retrofit alone. It's a fantastic opportunity, I think, for those looking for a new challenging role and to be at the front of something that's really, really forward thinking. I mean, how many other times in our lifetime are we going to be able to be at the start of a new industrial revolution? And as I say, it's so diverse in terms of the sectors and in terms of how we're shifting from traditional practices to newer practices, that there really is something for everybody. And really, to sum up, we have a fantastic opportunity to look at diversifying these sectors. So, as I said, traditionally, a lot of the sectors we've been talking about would be seen as boys' jobs, or those who are from more affluent backgrounds or from more represented groups. But actually, we have a fantastic opportunity to diversify these sectors as they lift and shift what they need as businesses to be able to become green. And we know that by diversifying sectors, construction being a fantastic example of that, we have an opportunity to really harness innovation and creativity to make faster opportunities in terms of problem solving and also discovering new breakthrough and innovative ideas. So if anything is to take home from my presentation today, it's to think outside the box, to try to break down some of those stereotypes and to think about the green sector as being or having something for everybody. And that concludes my presentation. So I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Greta, first of all, I'd just like to thank you all so much. Absolutely fantastic presentation. It really was very, very inspiring. Are there any questions in the chat? Just wonder, there's a question around the Retrofit Academy. Would you like, I was going to mention that. Would you like to respond to that, Loretta? Is it Southend and Thurrock?
Yeah, so we're covering the whole county at the moment. So the funding was initially given from the Community Renewal Fund and was looking, it's labelled as a retrofit pipeline for economic renewal in Harlow and Tendring, but the whole sort of criteria is based around anyone who's living or working in Essex at the moment. So we are aware that people are transient beings and they probably at the moment are lifting and shifting and working across county boundaries. But actually, if people are interested in retrofit, then we are and they live in Thurrock or Southend or Morden or wherever, if you've got an Essex postcode, it's open for everybody. And I can get Fiona or colleagues to forward over the links to the opportunities if that's useful.
These are very, very real opportunities. Loretta did a fantastic presentation on Essex Opportunities Live last week, promoting this to unemployed residents. We're promoting it through the National Careers Service, DWP, Reading Partnership. So please, if you're working with adults, really do share this with people. it's very exciting opportunities with immediate starts, aren't they, Loretta, for the training?
Yeah, the level 3 qualification is aimed at those who are currently underemployed or unemployed. And we, at the end of this 10-week boot camp, we have guaranteed interviews for jobs. So this is the second rollout of this particular boot camp in the country. There's been a pilot in London, but of the I think 25 odd participants in London, I think over half have already got jobs earning over £25,000 a year. So, and they've only been on a 10-week boot camp. So we've got employers lined up who've got real tangible jobs for people to be interviewed for. So hopefully we'll have some successful candidates at the end of that programme as well.
Thank you. And Paula's already said that she'll be happy to promote this to residents in the Rochford District Bulletin. So thank you, Paula.
Oh, brilliant.
Fabulous. Okay, with so many really positive comments, Loretta. You've been fantastic. You really have. I knew you would be, having heard you online last week as well, the last presentation. If there are no more questions, I think it's 9. Oh, there is a question actually. There's a question from Kerry Surridge. What opportunities are there for young adults with a learning difficulty or a disability?
Yeah, so I think actually there's opportunities for in all of those sectors around diversifying. So I was reading something the other day around a chap who has Down syndrome, who's just trained as a scaffolder, and potentially going to try and get him to come and do a piece on diversifying the construction sector. As I say as well, there's stuff around job carving for those who are neurodiverse, and we're really trying to promote that as part of the sector development strategy, which I believe, fingers crossed, is going to be launched on the 20th of May. And we've got a number of different versions of that strategy, one of which is going to be a more interactive sort of aimed at younger people or those who are more visual learners, and that will be available on the Essex website, and that's going to have all the opportunities in there and talk about how we're going to be moving forward to try and diversify the sectors as well in terms of equalities and diversity. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There'll be a launch, I believe, in Harwich on the 20th of May.
Thank you. And Loretta, if you haven't seen it, there's a question in the chat from Ali looking for some involvement with a primary careers events in Southend. So offline, I'll make an introduction to you.
Thank you.
Okay,
super.
Thank you.
Yvonne's
and I think
got her
Yvonne's,
hand up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Fantastic, Loretta. Absolutely amazing presentation. And all the jobs that are there, it's amazing. How can we get what you are doing out to schools, to our young people? Because obviously this is a long-term goal. So how can we get this information not only to secondary, but actually to primary school students, to start thinking, because a lot of students are thinking green, they're ahead of adults. A lot of young people are actually ahead of the adults and they're teaching their parents. So how can we get it out to the schools? What work can, I suppose, Hyla and I can do to get it out to the schools through the CEC?
So one of the things, obviously, I say we've got this sector development strategy, which is going to be launched, and we've got this sort of interactive, sort of more infographic, I suppose, rather than interactive version. We are looking at working on a school and a primary school version for young people, because we're aware that if people can't see it, feel it, think it, do it. The Bob the Builder example is a great one in terms of when people think white van man, under the hood of a car, or dirty on the job tools. We are thinking about producing something for schools. I'd love to have a conversation with colleagues on here about how we could do that, to work with you. You're the experts in terms of what works with younger people. I think as well, we've been talking around peer-to-peer support. So something we've been working on with our Essex Climate Action Commission SIG group is whether or not we can maybe use peer influencers, so-called green influencers, from young people to kind of assist with that. So if people are interested in maybe having an offline conversation about harnessing, how we can get that into schools, then I would be most thrilled to have that conversation.
Yeah, because I'm really interested with a motor vehicle, because for many years I've been saying that, and I can say this because my father was a motor mechanic, so I can say this. He was that actually what we've got is that a lot of young people, because of their family situation, have still got cars where they take them apart. So I call that tinkering now. So and I get a lot of young people wanting to come and do motor vehicle work experience. But the problem is what they think a garage looks like is completely different to what they think it is, to what we think. And you've now gone one step further to say that actually they're not going to be taking cars apart. You know, they need to be cyber security in that. So we've got a long way to shift those families who think that actually you're still tinkering to now go a step further. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I think it's great, and we just need to be getting into schools, both primary and secondary, because there's a lot of fantastic jobs there to do with green. So I'm really excited about that, but there is a lot of work that we need to do to get into schools, and especially for those motor vehicles. I've had a school come to me this morning while you're online. I was smiling to myself, wanting a work experience for motor vehicle, and you're just talking about motor vehicle, and I'm just thinking life is moving on too quick for some of our families.
Yeah, I think as well, I had a conversation with someone from Ford who said that one of the reasons they've moved to Here East is because they've got that creative sector around digital, and that's what they were harnessing there, around having that kind of creative background, rather than having, I mean, obviously they're going to be still doing the work within Basildon, for example, and having their plant stuff there and looking at transitioning to EV. But in terms of actually how they diversify in the sector, they're actually trying to attract people who are from the financial industry,
Yeah.
in terms of coding, and that's you know, causing disparity in terms of wages and stuff, because they're trying to attract different kind of skill sets.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy to have a conversation about how we can maybe support and do that. That'd be great.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Loretta.
An awful lot of interest, Loretta. There really is. Comments in the chat, lots of positive feedback. Ali, again, keen to work with us. I'm wondering if you're already working with Hyla in Southend, but really keen to join up with that in terms of the primary schools. Fantastic. So it's now 9:37. Paula, question from Paula. Brilliant. Thank you.
Sorry, just really quickly. So we do a bespoke programme in our secondary schools where we go in, we've just finished for this year, where we go in to introduce careers in South Essex, because we had a issue where our young people would go off to university and not come back. So it's about highlighting what is available locally. And also we target particularly sort of year 8 boys that are starting to be disengaged, thinking that uni is the only option, or A levels, and they're very vocational. So we go in with very interactive programs. We've worked with construction industry for the last 5 years, taking an interactive program in. So if you do develop anything for secondary, we've used AI technologies and things like that. That would be really great, because we would include that as a workshop. So in the one day that we go into each secondary school, we have 4 workshops that are concentrating on growing sectors or skill shortage areas. So as soon as anything is developed, we'd really love to do that with you. That'd be great. Thank you.
No, that's fab. Yeah, I think we definitely on the retrofit stuff, because it's going to have to grow at such a pace. And I think with that, having that retrofit designer type qualification coming out, and now we've got the relationship with Retrofit Academy, we'll definitely be going forward once the pilot program ends. So really keen to have conversations around how we can do that as well as part of this strategy rollout. So yeah, I'll pick that up offline if that's okay.
Thank you. And just really quickly, you mentioned about you could see by district what the jobs will that be available. Where did you say that was listed?
Yep. I'll pop a link in the chat. There's the
Brilliant.
LGA Acuity green job data, and
Right.
you can break it down by district, and you can compare it to London or to on a county-wide basis. It's really useful data.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Any more questions for Loretta? It provoked a lot of discussion, Loretta. It's been really fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for logging in. Thank you again for your time and energy, Loretta. Wish you all a very nice day. And, you know, any offline discussions we're going to have, I've already picked up some things from the chat. We'll progress those and then can update you all at the next LMI session.
Brilliant.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.